Before I get into anything today, just wanted to say quick thank you to anyone that has liked or shared any of my content so far. Anybody that's reached out to me and gave me their opinion on my opinions. Just want to let you know I really appreciate it. It does mean a lot to me. So thank you. So today we're going to talk about guns and the Second Amendment. I feel like it's a great time in our country right now to understand the importance of the Second Amendment. And I'm going to try and keep this video around 20 minutes. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into the gun debate and the Second Amendment that I probably won't get to. If you notice anything major that I left out, please let me know. And maybe I'll end up making another video on this at some point. I'm not sure. But anyways, let's talk about the Second Amendment. First of all, let's go over the wording of the Second Amendment because that's very important. So, the Second Amendment to our Constitution says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, capital S-T-A-T-E, state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And then as a capital A in arms as well. It's not talking about guns. It's talking about guns. Hopefully you already know that, but I thought I'd mention it. Okay, so let's break it down part by part. A well-regulated militia. A militia is a group of people. I'm pretty sure it has to be civilians. And it is a group of people, civilians, that can use force, that aren't. Okay, here we go. A military force that is raised from the civil population to supplement a regular army in an emergency. So that is the technical dictionary.com translation. Actually, that's from Oxford Languages. Don't think it's that big of a deal. So, a well-regulated militia. Talking about group of civilians that are regulated, that have power and the ability to enforce the law and to uphold the Constitution in times of emergency or crisis. And then it says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Okay, so the state, when state is capitalized, and it's talking about of a free state. It's talking about the state, which is the United States of America. That is known as the state. Your country is known as your state. So being necessary to the security of a free state. So it's saying that a militia is necessary to the security of a free state. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Talking about a free state, so upholding our Constitution and our freedoms. The right of the people to keep and bear arms, arms being guns, shall not be infringed. Shall not be overridden, overruled, shall not be blocked. There's a bunch of different synonyms for infringed. So, a well-regulated militia, civil population, being necessary to the security of a free state, necessary to the security of our country, a free United States of America. It's not just to the security of the state. It doesn't say a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of the state. It says being necessary to the security of a free state. So our freedoms, okay? The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So this is talking about the citizens of this country have the right to keep and bear arms, keep and have guns, and use them in a well-regulated militia to keep the state free. Okay? Well-regulated militia being necessary. So it's not just it can happen, it's necessary. So being necessary to the security of a free state. So it is necessary for the citizens of the United States of America to have guns. and it's necessary to ensure that we have the ability to keep our state, our country, free. So, I'm going to read it one more time. A well-regulated militia, being necessary, and it has a comma after militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma. So when you, in the English language, grammar-wise, when you have a phrase, and then it has another phrase after it with commas around it, that is talking about, it is adding on to that first phrase. It is adding on to it, and what's the word I'm looking for? It's not coming to me. So it's modifying that first phrase. So it's saying that a well-regulated militia is necessary to the security of a free state. So it's important that we have a well-regulated militia that is important to the security of our country. Now, we don't have standing militias. We have the National Guard, which is about as close to a militia as you can get. If there's ever a huge emergency, if there's ever an invasion, if there's ever anything that happens within the country and the Army falls, all of the Army, the Marines, the Navy, that sort of stuff, then at the homeland, then the National Guard, it goes down to the National Guard and then the police and whatnot, but then you have to be able to call a militia. That's like the last line of defense. So I think that something that people don't understand about this amendment is the important part about this amendment is not the militia. It is where it talks about the security of a free state. Whenever you're analyzing this amendment, you have to understand what was going on at the time. At the time, the people in our country, the colonists and whatnot, they were having their rights infringed upon by the UK, by Britain, by Great Britain. Now, when they wrote the Constitution and they distributed the power throughout the three branches, let me go back here. The broad point of the Second Amendment is it gives the citizens of our country the ability and the right to be allowed to own firearms to protect the security of a free country, of our country staying free. So that basically means if our government tries to infringe upon our rights that we have within the Constitution, within the Bill of Rights, we have the Second Amendment that gives us the right to take up arms against a tyrannical government. That's what the Second Amendment is for. It's for the security of a free state. And when the state loses its freedoms, that's when your well-regulated militia needs to be called up. Now, I have brought this up a couple times. It's difficult to know, and if anybody knows anybody that's a constitutional lawyer, send them my way, because I would love to know this. But at what point say the government's infringing upon our rights, our constitutional rights. Personally, in some ways, I think they are. At what point of the government infringing upon our constitutional rights does the Second Amendment come into play? At what point do we say, we're losing our free state? We're not free anymore. We're losing our rights to the government. Who draws the line between your committing treason and taking up arms against your countrymen and you're invoking your right with the Second Amendment? If there's any constitutional lawyers that know that, let me know. So that is the point of the Second Amendment. The point is to protect the rights of citizens to have weapons in case the government or whoever tries to infringe upon our rights as citizens of this country. That's the point of it. If someone tells you it's for hunting, they're out of their mind. There's nothing in this phrase, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There is nothing in there about hunting. Not a single thing. If somebody tells you that the Second Amendment is about hunting, they're out of their minds, and you can send them my way. That is not what that means. It's necessary to the security of a free state. So when you understand the point of the Second Amendment, which is so us citizens can protect our constitutional rights, and if a government becomes tyrannical, we can rise up against our government. That's the whole point of the Second Amendment. Now, where you draw the line between our government has become tyrannical or not, that's up for debate, and I'm not going to comment on that because I'm not going to say something and then some crazy person sees this video and says, Adam said, and then goes and shoots up the courthouse. I'm not going to go there. I'm explaining what the Second Amendment means. Okay, so when you understand that, then you can get to the argument of, well, when the Founding Fathers wrote that, all they had was muskets. No one needs an AR-15. What is the point? I'm going to go back. I'm going to beat this dead horse. What is the point of this amendment? So we can protect ourselves if our government becomes tyrannical. Now, if our government is rolling around with very advanced weapons, advanced rifles, tanks, rocket launchers, if they really went crazy and started coming for us, they're going to have good weapons, right? So if they become tyrannical and come for us with tanks and some great weaponry that first of all, our private sector produces, and all we've got is muskets, because that's all the Founding Fathers had, we're screwed. You don't win there. So the point of this amendment is so we can protect ourselves against a tyrannical government. So we should need the best tools that we can have to protect ourselves and to protect our country and our Constitution. Okay? That's why when you hear about these gun laws saying you can't own this type of gun, you can't own this type of magazine that holds so many bullets. Okay, first of all, ammunition is not called a bullet. Okay? The bullet is the very top part that gets fired out of the gun. That's your projectile. That's the bullet. The entire thing is ammunition. That's a round. It's a piece of ammunition. Okay? So if you hear a politician say no one should have a magazine that holds 20 bullets, they already don't know what they're talking about. Okay? Moving on. If you're having to rise up against your own country because your government has become tyrannical and is trying to overthrow the Constitution, and you can only fire one round a minute, you'd have to be reloading really slow to do that. But if that's all you could do, and they're coming at you with fully automatic weapons, you're in a world of hurt. You're screwed, okay? So, on one hand, I can understand why military-grade equipment is not available to civilians. I get it. Joe Blow down the street wants a tank. Tough shit. You're not getting a tank. You want an At-4 rocket launcher? Probably not going to happen. Now, depending on what state you live in, you can apply for licenses to where you can own fully automatic weapons and that sort of thing, up to a state-by-state basis. So, let's imagine you live in Tennessee or Texas, and your state government tries to start stepping on your constitutional rights. And I'm talking egregiously, like Bill of Rights, out the window. You can't assemble, you can't practice your own religion, you're not allowed to speak out against the state of Tennessee or Texas, or you're going to get thrown in jail. I'm talking like stuff that we're founded on as a country, they're stepping on it, and you're trying to rise up against that, right? You're in Tennessee or Texas, you've got some of the least strict gun laws in the country. Some of, not the, but some of the least. You have to rise up against your government. You most likely have the means to do so. Now, if the National Guard gets called, if for some reason the federal government comes in and tries to squash the rebellion as well, it's going to be tough. Now, let's imagine you're in California, or New York, or Chicago, all three of which, surprisingly, have some of the highest gun fatalities in the country. And they also have some of the highest gun control laws. I'm not going to draw a correlation between strict gun laws and gun deaths. You can do that on your own. Point is, you're out in California, you're limited to how many rounds of ammunition you can hold within your gun. You're limited to what kind of guns you can get. You're limited by waiting periods. You're limited by this, that, and the other. You're not allowed to carry in public unless you have a specific license through California. So my gun carry permit in Tennessee wouldn't work in California or New York or Chicago. If I got pulled over and a police officer found the gun on me, I could go to jail and I'd be a felon because I am in the illegal possession of a firearm in those states. Now, once all the police get defunded, I'll be good to go. And then what? It doesn't matter if I have that gun or not because there's no one there to enforce the law. But that was a different video. Hey buddy. Smokey may be coming to join. So, if you're in California and the government's squashing your constitutional rights and you try to rise up, you're going to have a tough time because you don't really have the means to do so. Okay? At what point does the right of the people to keep and bear arms get infringed upon when it comes to what kind of weapons you can buy? How much ammo you can hold within your weapons? I don't know where you draw that line. But a lot of the people just a few years ago that were telling you, you don't need an AR-15. You don't need to be able to hold 20 to 30 rounds of ammunition. You don't need to be able to. You got the police. Same people that are now trying to defund the police. So let's play it out one more time. I'm going to hopefully wrap up after this. Say you're in Minneapolis. I know, not where we want to be, huh? Say you're in Minneapolis and the police have been defunded completely. There's no police department. That's a wrap. No more police whatsoever. Someone tries to break into your house. Who are you going to call? Not the police. You going to call your neighbor? You live in, especially if you're in California, highly unlikely they have a gun. And by then, it's probably already too late. You need to be able to protect yourself responsibly with a gun. Okay? In Tennessee and in Texas, there's plenty of other states that have this doctrine, this clause, but I don't know them off the top of my head. But I know that they have it in Tennessee and in Texas. It's called the Castle Clause or the Castle Doctrine. And what that is that means that your home is your castle, and if someone is breaking into your home, you have a right to defend yourself and your property with a firearm. Now, there are stipulations within that law, when you're allowed to shoot, when you're not, what kind of force you're allowed to use, depending on what. There's always stipulations. There's always tiny little bits to laws that you really need to read the fine print. So, before someone breaks in your home and tries to attack you and you shoot them and say, Adam said I could, please look up your local laws. That's my disclaimer for the video. Always look into the laws where you live. Don't take someone's advice from the internet. Point is, if someone breaks into my home, I can shoot them. I'm defending myself. I'm defending my property. It's part of the Castle Clause and the Castle Doctrine. Places like California, you don't have that. Someone breaks in your home with a baseball bat or a crowbar or a tire iron or a, God forbid, a gun that they illegally have. Because imagine that. Criminals getting weapons illegally, who'd have thunk it? You can't call the police because they've been defunded. You can't shoot them because you've been slowly giving up your Second Amendment rights. and you probably don't even know how to shoot a gun. You've probably never shot a gun. If if everything going on with COVID and everything going on with these riots has taught you anything, it should have taught you that you need to have firearms accessible, and you need to be responsibly trained in their use. Personally, I believe everyone, from the time they're old enough, should be trained on how to use a firearm. Firearms are not dangerous. People that don't know how to use a firearm, or someone that is mentally bothered, that's when it becomes dangerous. It's very, very rare that you have a responsible gun owner who's been shooting guns all their lives, that knows their laws, their rights, and how to use a weapon, that is attacking and killing innocents. Okay? It's very, very rare. Criminals don't follow laws. That's why they're criminals. Okay? I'm sorry, but someone has to say it. Okay? Guys, read into your rights. Try to understand the Second Amendment more, and understand how important it is, especially in these days in our country, to know why you're allowed to have a firearm and why it's important. At the base level, it's important to protect yourself, and at a higher level, it's important to have so we can protect our Constitution and our free state, our free United States of America. Because whether you want to believe it or not, there are people in our country right now who live in our country who benefit from its laws and practices and its freedom, that would love to tear all that away from you, that would love to take away your rights to free speech, to assembly, to own and have weapons. They would love to take those things away from you. And when you live in a part of the country that doesn't allow you to have weapons, you're basically a sitting duck, hoping and praying that the police don't get defunded. If you don't have a weapon, but you know someone who is responsible who does, reach out to them. See if you can go shooting with them. See if they'll teach you. If you know John Zaleski, give him a call. I'm sure he would love to teach you all about your rights and teach you how to properly and safely use a firearm. It's important to, at the very least, know the skill. And if you can get your hands on a firearm to have at your home to protect yourself and your loved ones, I highly recommend you do so. It's really important. I don't think that people fully understand the importance of knowing how to use a gun responsibly and safely, and to have to protect yourself and to protect your country and your Constitution. Because at the end of the day, the Constitution is what we really pledge our allegiance to. It's not the flag, it's not the government, it's the Constitution. The Constitution is the incredible document that some extremely smart people came up with a couple hundred years ago that are so much smarter than the people we have now, that give us all the freedoms and all the liberties and everything that we have today. It was those smart people putting some amazing things into a document that keeps us free, that keeps us from becoming a place like China or Venezuela, or Russia, or draw a name out of a hat of a country. It's important stuff, guys. Look into it. Thank you so much. If you check this out, let me know what you think. If I missed anything that you think is super important, or if I got some facts wrong, please let me know. Yeah, that's it. Have a great day.